I had to. I'm sorry. I had to. Can't be helped.
I really can't. It was almost one of those things where I was testing fate. I was like, he's not gonna. I can see myself in the little. I'm like, he's not gonna do it now. I'm just gonna get a quick little sip. Nope.
You can always have a quick little sip.
Just need a quick sip. Brad, happy day to you.
Happy day. It's spooky season.
Mm-hmm.
We're well into spooky season.
Well into the spooky season, yes.
Yeah. We are down a Caroline tonight, but we'll have to muddle through like we used to.
You know, Brad, I think we did quite a few of these for months without our third companion, and you know what? I think we can get through it as well. So
I think we'll probably be able to manage. I guess we'll find out. How you been?
I'm well, Brad. I'm well. Today is technically my wife went into labor like right now, a year ago today, which is pretty funny. Okay. And then we get to tomorrow at around 1:00 and my second child, Oscar, is born. So again, margaritas.
Happy birthday to Oscar.
Happy birthday to Oscar.
Sheesh. That does not feel like it's been a year. That's crazy.
It doesn't, right? That's what's the weirdest part about it. It's like, oh, huh.
It's been, I don't know, 2-3 months maybe, something. It's been a little while.
The kid can say 6 words. He can practically walk. He just doesn't want to. He can say goodbye and hello and like mean it. He's like, bye, Dada. Like when I leave the room,
nice.
Like, yeah, I'm like, that's not what a 1-year-old does, but that's what this 1-year-old does.
Crazy.
Yeah,
kids, they grow so fast.
I don't get it.
And yet it takes
I'm
forever.
The same age. I'm the same age, Brad. I haven't aged since my first child was born. I'm still 30 years old.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I've always been like 75, 80 since I was a kid. So it's I'm still catching up to my age.
Beyond that, Brad, things are good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. It's been interesting. The kid is getting into Roblox now, which is a nightmare for my brain cells. But other than that, it keeps him distracted in a reasonably controlled environment, which, there are worse things, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's mind-numbing.
What's that like? My child will watch Roblox and Dennis will be like, this is lame. And I'm like, I'm not going to tell him that it's lame, but he feels that way. But I've watched a couple like YouTube videos with him of people playing, and I'm like, I don't get this, man. And he's like, I don't get it either.
It's very strange. And he will very much enjoy some of them, and he hates other ones, like all the little different games that you can play, right? So I don't know. I don't understand.
So, Brad, let's explain for the people at home who are watching now, or maybe watching at another time, or for the aliens in the future who find this digital archive of us. What is Roblox?
So Roblox is a very sort of low graphics, sort of a sandbox world thing where people make games. Yeah. Like little game worlds.
They make like a Tetris sort of low game. Polygon. They make like a checkers game. What do you mean by they make games?
Well, a lot of them are sort of like 3D versions of clicker games where you have to do repetitive tasks to like get upgrades to do repetitive tasks faster or better or get more points or whatever. It's very repetitive for the most part. There are some that are a little bit less repetitive, I guess, and are almost like adventure gamey or puzzly in different ways, but it's essentially a way to convince children to bug their parents to buy them upgrades. So the more dull and repetitive a thing can be, generally that's what they aim for. Yeah. To try to squeeze money out of people.
Yeah, it's a surprise.
But, it's just a colorful, weird game world that the kid can spend time, building the most tallest burger or whatever reason. It's very strange stuff.
I don't know where Roblox is based out of. Is it an American company?
I have no idea.
Roblox Corporation is based in California.
There you go.
Headquartered in San Mateo. I did not realize that Roblox... No, is Roblox a publicly traded company? It is! It's a publicly traded company, Brad.
Craziness.
Boy.
It's very, very bizarre. But I would not be surprised if my son suddenly started wanting to build game worlds in Roblox, because he is very much in the building of the games side of things. He wants to understand stuff so that he can build one of his own. Big into like Mario Maker and all of that kind of
Absolutely.
stuff.
I get
Not
that.
great at it at 6 years old. You know, they're fairly simplistic as far as his Mario levels, but like he's getting there.
Dennis was the same way. I remember I introduced Mario Maker to him at 5, and his Mario levels were, and this is his word, atrocious. Because he keeps them all. Like, you know, in Mario Maker, you can only have like 25 games. What Dennis does is he makes a new user profile on the Switch, because that's infinite.
Sure.
And then he can just make another, and he'll go back and he'll play these games, and he's like, "What was I thinking?" And I was like, "You were 5. You didn't know any better,
right? You didn't know what you were doing. It's fun."
And he's like, "What? How did you play this?" And I was like, "I played it because I knew you were 5." And he's like, "But it's not good." And I was like, "It's good for a 5-year-old, though, right? For a 5-year-old, this was really great. I couldn't do this at 5." So, my question with Roblox, especially with the monetary aspect of it, is, there's got to be a way for creators to make money, right? There has to be, the same way like with Minecraft mods, like there's a way for creators to start making money for some of that, but I don't understand.
Oh yeah, I don't know like what the deal is, like what the split is, but they get some percentage of the Robux that are spent in a game that they make. Right. So that's why all the upgrades and everything.
Yeah.
You know, you can do sort of everything is pay to win, basically.
Yeah, Roblox. I mean that's just video games in general.
And whoever made that game world should get some kind of a cut. I have no idea if it's like a decent cut or not. They would be getting something at least. It's just a very strange.
It's a very, very strange thing. Brett, if you had to guess, what is the cost? But just if you can. What's the cost of a share in the Roblox Corporation?
Oh, geez. I would have no clue. I'm going to say $40.
Higher.
Wow. $100?
Lower.
Okay. Like, we're talking like 70 something?
74, 78. Running up to $75 a share. Not bad for a company that makes nothing.
Right.
That is essentially just makes UI for other people to make all of their stuff. I mean, that is impressive.
Yeah. That's not bad.
There is going to become a time, I imagine, where loot boxes and all of this pay to win stuff, there has to be a time where some government organization is going to step in and regulate all of this stuff. Right? Like,
maybe, or it could just push in the complete opposite direction, and then it all goes crypto style, so it is a lot harder to regulate by any sort of large government entity. But it's hard to say. The world is getting very strange very quickly. So
yeah, I mean, like
very hard to predict.
The moment I said it, I was like, Kellen, there are so many other big things that people are going to get into. It's not the 90s. If this was happening in the 90s, that's 100% would get regulated. But now, no, it's not going to get regulated. I just said it, and I'm taking it back. It's not going to get regulated at all. You know? And so kids are like, you know, bringing guns to school and robbing each other of their Roblox dollars. I don't think it's going to happen.
I mean, there's been like real world theft of like World of Warcraft equipment and stuff like that. Like, not very often, but it leaks into the real world occasionally.
People are obsessed.
As things get more and more digitally focused, like that sort of thing is probably going to cross over more.
Yeah. But I guess at least with World of Warcraft, that was a subculture, right? And I felt like that subculture, there was sort of some elitism of wanting to own certain elements of that, of saying, oh, I'm X, I'm Y, right? Like, because World of Warcraft was so good about being like, oh, like, we did this raid first, and then your character would have like a banner or something else that made you feel like, oh my gosh, that's one of the people.
Right.
That's not going to happen in Roblox because you're just going to buy it, right? Like, that's the interesting thing about World of Warcraft. Like, there's no pay to win in World of Warcraft. Like, it's a game for people who want to play a game,
right?
And like, there are ways in which you can like jump like levels and stuff like that, but there's no like, oh, I want to beat this instance, I want to beat this raid. Like, you got to do it. It's still a game. Whereas I look at Roblox and I'm like, this doesn't seem like a game. This seems like a way to print money,
basically. But weird. Like, once you combine sort of virtual worlds or game worlds with like NFT style, like this is the one version of this, then you're gonna get some interesting real world implications from the digital world, because you can prove that it's like that one version of the object or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, that is the interesting thing. Like, NFTs in a digital environment make more sense than NFTs in a meat space environment, right?
Like you could have a literal digital museum with fully unique digital assets that you would have to, pay to access to see the virtual environment or whatever, because that's the only place that it exists. Be very strange.
Yeah. That'd be kind of an interesting thing, thinking about like virtual reality experiences, like a virtual reality museum, to go and have that, to go and have like certain artists who like curated certain experiences that way. And you're like, all right, cool. Like, what are we doing on Friday? I don't know. Like, you want to go to the museum? Yeah, cool. We're all in our Vives or our Oculuses and we all hang out, we go and have that sort of experience. That could actually be interesting. I don't know if I'd want to do that every night, but like, that would be I don't know, let's go and do this, especially during COVID, during winter. Like, it's really interesting thinking about the things that I'm starting to get more into now that it's getting colder versus during the summer. I'm like the amount of movies that I want to watch, but it's also spooky season, so I want to watch horror movies. But like July, I'm like, the last thing I wanted to do was spend 2 hours in front of a screen watching a passive movie.
Right.
But now I'm like, ooh, cozy time, bowl of popcorn. Perfect.
It's good times. And stuff like movies and things like that in VR is great now.
Yeah.
Like the Oculus, like even like 3D movies, which I hate. 3D movies in the real world, like glasses, and then you have the 3D. It's not a good situation. Yeah. But in the Oculus, I don't wear my glasses. It is the screens. And they're independent. So there's no blurring, there's no weird things. It's actually like, if the 3D is done well for the movie, it's actually great.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
But you do have to strap a giant thing onto your head still.
But they get smaller and smaller every single year.
It's getting there.
I've never worn a Vive before, but I hear the Vive again. It's more powerful. It's Valve, so they do their own sort of thing. But like, there's something about the Oculus. I played with the Oculus many, many times before the Rift. The Oculus Rift. That's great. Very, very fun. The Quest, right? Oculus Quest as well. That's great. It's lightweight, easy to do. It's fun to set that up and to see the 8-year-old play with it and do like Beat Saber with that. That's great.
Oh, sure, yeah. It's a good time. And they are getting better. I mean, we're probably at like Super Nintendo level.
I don't know if I think we're less than. I think we are barely past the Atari age of Oculus games. Like, and because I'm talking about like, even if you're looking at Half-Life, what was this? The Half-Life : what do they call it? Alex.
Alex, yeah.
You still can't move in that game. It's just like, you're just playing like a light gun game. You can kind of do some little stuff, but you can't like move around in the environment. Like, I think we're getting closer, because I guess for me, the thing that's going to make virtual reality really interesting is when I can move in an environment and not get sick to my stomach.
Right.
And it truly be a virtual reality, as opposed to I stand still, and then all of this stuff happens here, but my feet stay still. Right, I'm looking for, and not the like, oh, I stand on the platform and I run on the platform thing.
Right. It's like they have that. They're not great as far as I haven't used one personally, but I hear it's not a great. It can be fun, but
yeah. Or like I've seen in Chicago, there's a couple of places where you can do like a virtual reality, like paintball, or like you're in an arena and like you're walking around the arena and you can see the other people. But like I've talked to people who go and they're like, it's weird because like you see someone, but the computer rendering and versus where the person is not 1-to-1, you know?
Right. Yeah, they have some work to do with that kind of stuff. But it's getting there.
It's getting there.
And the resolution is getting close to like decent enough that they can start to focus on other things and not worry about just increasing the resolution with every new version, you know? So it's going to get better in different areas.
Yeah. It still makes people sick, though.
It can.
Yeah.
That's getting close too, but it definitely can.
Yeah. When you meet
thankfully not nearly as much as like a few years ago.
Oh yeah. It was terrible a few years ago. I mean, that's one of the reasons why like a game like Beat Saber works so well. It's like, guess what? You don't have to move. You just move your arms and it's fun. You know? Our brains are so stupid, Brad. We just put little screens in front of our eyes and suddenly it tricks our brains and be like, I'm in this crazy environment. Like
if you could trick your eyes and your ears, you're like 95% there.
Yeah.
Like there's a little bit of, you know, like if you try to lean on something that doesn't exist, you know, there's problems. But if you can trick your eyes and your ears, your brain will do a lot of work fooling the rest of those processes.
I will say there was a virtual reality experience I did on the Oculus that was related to the second Jurassic Park game, where it was like sit in a chair and essentially you're in the back of a Jeep on a Jurassic Park safari. And I was like, this is happening. There's a T-Rex right there because I had some noise canceling headphones on and I put those on and I synced them up and I was like, this is real. This is 100% happening. This is so freaking real. And Dennis, like, we had ability to like stream what I was looking at onto like an iPad. So like Dennis crept up and like touched my hand after like a T-Rex jumped out, and I almost like chopped him right in the neck because I was so like, what the.
Yeah, those types of things are good where they can build the immersion in, like Elite Dangerous.
Yeah,
amazing because you're just sitting in the ship. You're
sitting in the ship, yeah.
So you can look around and everything, but you don't. It doesn't feel weird that you're not physically moving around because you're just sitting in the ship, and the world is doing stuff around you because you're controlling stuff. But like, there's no disconnect.
Yeah,
stuff like that is great.
I did not see this wonderful question from Lauren. Lauren, hello.
Hey, Lauren.
An impossible question, Lauren. Because the question, Brad, let's kind of dive into this. We're gonna have like a horror movie episode later with Caroline.
Absolutely.
But Brad, let's talk about what makes a horror movie, because the genre of horror is quite vast.
Sure.
Right? Because you could say, oh, horror movies, slasher movies. Well, I mean, there are some sci-fi horror movies. There are some monster movies. Some people don't think Jaws is a horror movie, but in some ways it is a horror movie. You know? You look at Alien. Alien is a horror movie that's set in space. So it's sci-fi, but it's still a horror movie. You got Event Horizon. There's another horror movie that's set in space. There are plenty of horror movies that are set here in our world that don't have to do with vampires or werewolves or, you know, monsters. So here's the question, Brad. What's your favorite horror movie? The horror movie you could watch again and again and again. I've got a tie. For mine.
That's tough. I don't really watch a lot of horror movies even.
Come on, Brad. Is this like a Canadian thing?
No, this is like my brain is dumb thing, and like horror movies are
they just don't work
dull to
You're
me.
like
it's either like it's just gross for the sake of being gross. Or it's like I guess they're trying to make it tense, but none of it is real enough to like hit the part of my brain that gets scared about things. I will say the scariest movie that I've ever seen is probably Jesus Camp.
Jesus Camp is terrifying.
It's terrifying. It's psychologically terrifying, but
Technically
I
not a
wouldn't
horror
call it a
movie.
horror movie exactly.
Technically
but
not
it's
a
the
horror
scariest
movie,
movie that
It
I've
is
seen.
scary. It is absolutely scary. Jesus Camp, a terrifying documentary about children being revolutionized by evangelical Christians. Absolutely terrifying.
What is that?
They're Pentecostal, I think. But yeah, man. Fucking the Children Crusade. That's essentially what it is. God,
a great stupid horror movie that I love and I don't understand why I love it would be Club Dread.
Club Dread,
like
fantastic
comedy horror.
Bill Paxton's in that movie. Great movie.
So good. It's really dumb, but it's great.
It's extremely dumb, but it's great.
I like Scream, and there's some classic ones.
Scream is a classic. Scream is an absolute classic. I love Scream. I think Scream is great. I think there's so many fun horror movies that come out of the 90s that are so self-referential. It's really great. I'm actually going to say it's a three-way tie for mine. It's a three-way tie. Usually I say The Shining because I think The Shining is fantastic. I can watch The Shining any day and always have the same eerie, uncomfortable reaction. I've seen The Shining so many times at home and movie theaters. It makes me feel uncomfortable, and that's what Kubrick wants. It's an uncomfortable. I know that movie scene for scene, shot for shot, and there are still moments in that movie where I'm like, ugh.
Right.
And it's horrifying. It's a really
disturbing.
Horrifying movie. I love it. Brett, did we talk about the version of The Shining that I saw as well, where they had taken The Shining and they play it from front to back?
Forward and then you had mentioned
where it's so good, man. It's so good.
Lauren is a fan of The Shining.
Oh yeah, Lauren. So what you have to look for, I might send this to you. What you have to look for is there's a version of The Shining where they play the whole movie and then they take the movie as well and they play it in reverse and they overlay it. And there's all these scenes that, and again, Kubrick is not doing this intentionally. This is just, it's a coincidence that it happened this way. But there are all of these scenes that match up because our brains are like, oh, there's meaning. And it's just framing. Yeah. It's just pacing. That's all it is. Like, it's a well-paced movie. It's a well-framed movie. So it looks like, oh my God, these things are happening. It's no, right. It's not. It's not real.
It's called filmmaking.
It's filmmaking. Right.
Most good movies will have some structure like that.
Yeah, they'll have some structure. I will message you.
Does Rocky Horror count as? I don't.
Oh, I would 100% think Rocky Horror counts as a horror movie. Absolutely, okay. I love.
It's a good one too. I enjoy.
Oh my gosh, Rocky Horror is fantastic.
It doesn't fit in the horror part of my brain, I guess.
But it's still spooky. It's still it's spooky. I guess here's the thing, Brad. Are you going to watch Rocky Horror Picture Show in April? Or are you going to watch it in October?
I'll watch it right now. I'll watch Rocky
Horror. You know what? Stream's over.
That's it. We're watching Rocky Horror now.
We're watching Rocky Horror. Rocky Horror is a great show, man. Rocky Horror is a really fun show. I hope I know they remade it a couple of years ago and it really flopped. But man, I
haven't seen that one.
It's not worth it, man. It's really, really not.
I heard very bad things and I skipped it.
Yeah. So it's The Shining. Then it's Evil Dead 2.
Okay, sure.
Evil Dead 2. I could watch that movie, and if that's a movie, if that's on TV and I see it, I'm like, all right, I'm stopping whatever I'm doing, and I'm going to watch Evil Dead 2. I love Evil Dead 2. Sam Raimi makes great horror movies. From Hell, not From Hell. Drag Me to Hell. That's a fun horror movie that he did. But I think
Evil Dead, does Army of Darkness count as horror still?
Absolutely, it does. Absolutely,
that's another great one then.
Yeah,
but I guess I enjoy the horror comedy combo.
But that's the funny thing about Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness is it's a horror movie that has comedy elements. It's not a comedy that happens to be like not Judge Dredd, but Club Dread, right? Like it's a horror movie that happens to be funny, right? A little tongue in cheek that way.
Yeah.
Same thing with Scream. I guess that's the question, Brad. Like, what defines a horror movie for us? You know?
I don't know. As long as it scares you, I guess. I don't know.
You know what? Let's answer that question when Caroline's back with us, because
It's a good idea.
it's going to worth getting to it. And the third one that I'm thinking about, Blair Witch. I love Blair Witch. That's a movie that gives me the spookies. It's a really fun one. End of that movie freaks me out to this day. It's so good.
It's been a long time since I've seen that one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It caused way too many found footage movies though to spawn. But
yeah, I mean,
can't really blame it for that.
Mhm.
But
fun fact I heard the other day: Paranormal Activity, one of the highest-grossing films of all time, because it made such a little amount of money, but it made so much money because it's all this found footage stuff, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
They're so cheap to make.
Ghost movies don't spook me out, right? Like there's something about like a witch movie, spooky.
Sure.
Zombie movies, vampires, all that stuff. Ghosts, I'm like, I don't know.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Talking about spooky things that aren't movies, have you finished Midnight Mass yet?
I haven't.
Damn it, man! I want to talk about Midnight Mass with you.
I will talk about with you, but buddy, here's the thing. I love Midnight Mass so much. I do. This is like I feel this way about some video games. I don't want it to end, and books. I don't want it to end, and so I am just milking my time with it.
That's fair.
I can't tell you where I am without revealing it for other people. And if people haven't heard about Midnight Mass, if you have had any experience in the Catholic Church, whether good or bad, you need to watch Midnight Mass, because I'll tell you what, it is a movie for Catholics who are practicing, and it's a TV show, a Netflix TV show for practicing Catholics and not practicing Catholics, because it is, and Brad and I have talked about this, it is uncomfortable how much of this show taps into some of this stuff.
Yeah, it's super creepy in an entertaining way.
It's so good.
It's very well done on that side.
It's extremely well done.
And I don't want to talk about it other than that, because you got to finish it first.
I'll finish it.
Really pull it apart, but it's good. Everybody should watch it. It's like 7 episodes or something. It's not even that
easy.
long. Like,
I'm on episode 5 right now. I was going to watch an episode last night, and I fell asleep, and I was like, no, it's all right. Our mutual friend of the show, and fellow content creator, BJ, was a little skeptical at first, and he texted me after watching the final episode, and he's like, I cannot believe how beautiful the last episode is.
Yeah, no, it's all great.
It's all great.
There's definitely some issues that we'll have to talk about, but I don't want to.
Oh, we will. Oh, nothing's perfect.
But yeah, it's very entertaining. It's very great. And I mean, there's no Buddy Christ or anything.
Yeah, I mean, Dogma's really great. Which Dogma's not a horror movie. No, nothing with Matt Damon or Ben Affleck.
It does have a shit demon in it. So.
It does have a shit demon in it. Brad, speaking of horror, I got a quiz for you.
Okay.
Now, I got to tell you, Brad, we've done some quizzes. Now, this is no how many rats are you, by the way.
Sure. The classic.
The classic.
The classic. How many rats are you worth?
How many rats are you worth? But this question here, Brad. So some people sometimes threaten, again, the way this is written, amazing. Some people sometimes threaten others with suicide in order to get what they want. Is this a good thing? Yes. It is perfect, and we can easily achieve what we want. Yes. Sometimes it is good. No, it isn't good. This is playing into people's emotions. I have no idea.
I would say that it is not good, and it's playing with people's emotions.
Great. Alcohol and drugs.
Redundant.
Period.
Okay.
What do you think about these two? I am addicted to drugs. I am addicted to alcohol. I only use alcohol to have fun with my friends. Sometimes I use both. I never use.
I mean, I think I've admitted to as much on the stream, so I can't even lie about this. Sometimes I do use both.
Sometimes I use both. What is your way of controlling others, Brad? I always control them by intimidating them.
That's me, super intimidating.
I threaten them sometimes. I'm trying to control them with my logic. I do not need to control people.
I mean, like, if I ever felt the need to control someone, I guess I would probably use logic, but I don't generally have that as a goal. I don't think I need to control people.
Do not need to control people. How would you react when someone disagrees with your beliefs? Now, Brad, this is going to be 6 answers for you. I will hate them. I will argue with them. I will respect their opinions. They must accept my opinions. I will try to convince them by talking. I don't know.
I guess if it's something that I cared about, I would try to convince them by talking, I guess.
Try to convince them by talking. Excellent. Oh boy, Pinocchio. Some people easily lie to achieve their goals. What is your opinion? I always do that too. Brad, some of these questions and these quizzes, I do not understand if this is a bad translation.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's amazing.
I sometimes do that. I don't like lying. I lie sometimes unintentionally.
I definitely don't like lying. I guess that's probably the closest thing there. I try to avoid lying if possible.
You always have a communication breakdown. Yes. Always. Yes. Often. Not at all. Rarely.
I mean, communication breakdown. I mean, it's definitely not never. But is it often?
Is it often?
I mean, it's probably more than rarely, so I guess I have to go with often. There's not really
often.
a middle ground there.
If you're making a big mistake in the past, if you've made a big mistake in the past, what do you think about it now? Nothing. I'm not making a mistake.
Never happened. I don't know what you're talking about.
I never learn from my mistakes. I try to learn from my mistakes. I don't know.
I try to learn from my mistakes.
Try to learn from my mistakes. How human of you, Brad.
I try to avoid making the same mistake more than, 4 or 5 times.
Some people never use others to achieve their personal gains. Brad, did you know that some people never use others to achieve their personal gains?
In this capitalist society?
What do you think about these people? Brad, do you answer they're stupid? They should use people sometimes, but not always. They are perfect. I do not have any idea.
So there's not a lot of gray area with these answers.
Not a lot of gray in this one. I mean, I do not have any idea is the gray.
That's fair. Okay, so I do not have any idea, I think, is going to be what I have to go with. Perfect seems like a bit of a stretch, but...
Brett, easy question. Do you pay your bills on time?
I do.
No, never. Sometimes. Most of the time, rarely. Again,
I guess
not
most
a yes
of the time
or
is
no.
the only... Yes, I try.
So
I would say at least most of the time.
Most of the time. Most of the time you pay your bills.
I guess I'll go with that.
Excellent. Brad, what do you do if someone on the street bothers you?
Why am I on the street? That's crazy.
Will physically harm them. Sometimes I fight them, which is the same answer. I tell the police nothing.
What, like, bothers you? Like, what are they
You
just
know,
yelling at me? Like, what
hey,
are
sir,
they?
do you happen to have the time? Hey, I'm trying to get on the bus. You got like a quarter? Your
Oh,
bottom money.
I would probably just do nothing unless
No.
they're like trying to fight me for some reason. I'm just keep going.
Okay, Brad. How well do you know about the norms of your community?
Hmm.
Okay. What is the norm? Question mark. I know, but I don't care. I try to respect. I never respect the norms.
I guess I would generally try to respect the norms. Not always successful, but I would try, right?
Some of these questions.
Right?
Brad, do you have plans and goals for your future? Life is totally a future. Life is today, and the future is an illusion. I can only have a plan for a week. Yes, I have big dreams. No, I have no long term goals.
uh, I would say I only have planned for a week. I could get behind that. I guess I don't have a lot of long term plans at
Not
this
long
point.
term plans. Brad, your friend's heart is broken, and he or she wants to talk to you about this. What is your reaction? Do you say, I don't care? Do you say, I do not like to hear?
Kind of the same
Kind of the
vibe
same.
there.
I listen to him or her, but I do not understand her. Again, I listen to him or her, but I do not understand her feelings. You understand his feelings,
Sure.
but not her feelings. I try to calm him or her down. I do not know.
I guess I would probably try to calm them down. I mostly understand those types of feelings now.
Oh, these questions
Took a
are
long
so
time.
good. Brad, some people introduce themselves by their nicknames. Is this good? Yes, I also have a nickname. Sometimes I use it too.
Okay.
I like it too, but I do not use it.
Mm,
No, it is not good at all.
those are very strangely worded.
Yes.
Mm, I mean, nickname.
If we can talk
Most
about
of the people I know I met online. Does screen names count as
the
nicknames?
account as well. I mean, Aerith Girl is a good example.
Then I guess I will have to go with a nickname, even though these days mine is usually just my name in those settings. Other people have different ones.
Can you easily express your feelings, Brad? Not at all. Rarely. Yes, most of the time. Yes, always.
I think we both know that it's rarely is gonna have
Rarely
to be.
is the correct answer, Brad.
Yeah.
I can easily manipulate others through humors, intelligent, love, charisma. I don't like manipulating people.
Okay, so
Humors,
see
intelligent.
that's a very strangely like that last one doesn't
Yeah.
answer the it's a different thing. I mean, I don't like manipulating people, but that doesn't actually answer
Doesn't answer the question. Nope.
So it's weird to pick that.
Yeah.
But I think that's still going to have to be my answer.
I don't like manipulating people. Animals.
Even though I don't understand how that would be an answer to that.
Perfectly fine. Only my goals are important to me in life, and I have superiority over others. Brad, do you completely agree? Somewhat agree? Somewhat disagree? Or completely disagree? The most normal answers we've received in this quiz so far.
It's the full range from
Yeah.
like I actually agree with this to no, I disagree with that. That's a totally normal question. I would disagree with that. I would completely
disagree.
Yeah, it goes along with like not wanting to manipulate people.
Oh yeah. Brad, how's your relationship status? I don't have close relationships. My relationships are not stable. I have positive relationships. Somewhat good.
I mean, some of my relationships are reasonably stable. I guess I have mostly positive relationships. There's some that maybe are a little unstable, but
Is
mostly
that somewhat
positive.
good or is that positive relationships?
I guess somewhat good. Let's go with
Somewhat good.
good.
All right, Brad, we got 6 more. You have broken someone's heart by saying or doing something.
A little too real, but okay.
A little too
sure.
real, Brad. A little too real here.
It's fine.
Brad, are you upset about this? Not at all. Yes, somewhat. Yes, I feel guilty. His or her heart must have broken.
I would say yes, somewhat.
Yes, somewhat.
Yeah.
I always being late to work. I always
Okay.
being late to work, Brad.
Sure.
Me too. I do too most of the time. It happens to me too, but rarely. I go to work whenever I want.
That's not really okay. I guess that last one is I would be physically sick being late anywhere. So would be the last one, I guess. No, it's weirdly.
This one is strange. This image and this question do not make sense to me. But here we go. Brad, what do you think about fraud and betrayal? The best thing to achieve goals. Sometimes it's good, too bad, no idea.
What do I think about fraud and betrayal?
What do you think about fraud and betrayal?
Bad. I guess too bad is like the only
it's
negative thought about fraud and betrayal.
Yeah, and too bad is such a good way to describe. I'm not comfortable with it. So
yeah, it's weird.
Brad, how do you spend your free time? Alone and at home.
This stream.
Yeah. I go out and have fun alone. I spend time with my family. I spend time with my friends.
I mean, a couple of those could fit, I guess, but most of my actual free time, I would probably be alone and at home these days.
How do your colleagues describe you? Aggressive, a little naughty, undercase kind, or charismatic?
All right. Well, you're the closest thing to a colleague that I have.
I would say.
Right now, what would you
I
say?
would say kind, Brad. I think you're very kind.
All right, kind it is.
Second to last question, the penultimate question. Have you ever had legal problems, Brad? Yes, a lot. How many times a year? Never, rarely.
How many times a year does
That's
not?
That's the sardonic approach to the question.
What?
Ask a question with your question.
Sure. I would say rarely have I had legal problems.
Sorry, what?
Rarely. It's been a long time.
Long time. Final question, Brad. Life is beautiful with family and friends. That's a statement. Brad, do you completely agree? Somewhat disagree? Excuse me, completely disagree, somewhat disagree, completely agree, or somewhat agree?
I mean, I guess I would agree with that. Family and friends does help things as much as I wouldn't necessarily mind being a hermit.
So, Brian, it looks like you're a low sociopath based on
That's not a surprise.
That's not a surprise. Fortunately, based on your answers, you're one of those people with low sociopathic disorder. I mean, again, this quiz is definitely highly reputable.
Absolutely.
And that means you are friends with you are friends with society and people. You are always doing good deeds and trying not to break society's rules and norms, but sometimes you may inadvertently lie or cheat. Later, you will surely feel guilt about it.
All right, then.
There we go.
Now we know. That was intense and
That was an
often
intense
strangely
quiz.
worded.
And again, Brad, the answers are the journey is much more important than the outcome, right?
Absolutely.
It's not about how many rats you're worth. It's about the questions we find out along the way.
Right. Oh, Kellen.
Yeah, Brad.
That was a thing. Would you like a question?
I would love a question, please.
All right, let's see. After that deep dive into my psyche, what do we want to do here? Oh, here's just a silly one. What's a quote or saying that people use just completely wrong? I have an example if you would like.
I would love an example. Yeah.
The one that I thought of would be like blood is thicker than water. You know, family is important, et cetera, et cetera. But the real quote is actually the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb, which means the complete opposite. It's the connections that you make like willingly are at least, if not more important than the ones that you're sort of randomly dealt that are not in your control, like family.
Wow, I didn't realize that. That's beautiful. Are there any quotes or sayings?
Right, see you later, Jeremy. Cheers.
What is that? I mean, he's living on the complete opposite side of the world. What is he doing? He's got to go like surf or something.
He's probably got to go to work. It's the morning.
They don't work in Australia. They're all prisoners. What do you mean? Like, what are they making?
Australia doesn't exist. He's got to get to that weird call center so he can continue to pretend that Australia exists.
Man, that's the thing about living on a flat Earth, right? Is all of the paperwork that has to go into making people think we live on a globe. You know.
Oh, there's a good one. Great minds think alike, and then the complete one is and fools seldom differ.
Yeah. It's probably like a few bad apples, right? Like that's probably the one that I think most people get wrong, right? Like, you know, like there are so many American exceptionalist quotes that I think we have just, or bootstraps, right? Well, pull your up to your bootstraps, right? Like there's just shit like that where it's just like, you know, great stuff that the greatest generation coined that baby boomers completely, you know, manufactured and turned into something else, you know, like, you know, that's one that bothers me a lot is people who misrepresent I couldn't give a shit versus I could give a shit, right? Like that's one where I'm like, that's the opposite of what you're in fact trying to say. When people are like, I could give a shit, and I'm like, so give a shit. Like, please care. But when I couldn't give a shit, it's like, yes, there we are. Perfect. You know.
Yeah.
Ow.
Yeah, the few bad apple one bothers me a lot too.
Yeah.
People crazy.
Well,
spoils the bunch.
It spoils the bunch. It's literally you are making the case for us, right?
Yeah.
Right. We should get those bad apples out, right?
People
are the worst. The absolute worst. Yeah, it's tough, man. Like I think there's a lot of an interesting thing about kind of living here in the Midwest for as long as I have is there's a lot of focus on language here that doesn't happen. You know, I felt like the group of friends that I grew up in, again, I lived in a small town with a college, so maybe it was just sort of like liberal arts, white, small town college, Oregon experience. But like people would correct you if you said something incorrectly, right? Like there was such a focus on language as a way to express yourself. And I came out here and I remember the first time I said something to someone like, oh, in fact, that's not the case. People were so taken aback by me actually listening to what they were saying as opposed to passively listening,
Right.
that I realized that I started coming off as an asshole to people, because people were like, why are you listening to what I'm saying?
Why are you actually processing the words that are coming out of my mouth? That's weird.
Yeah, right? Like, as opposed to two people standing there and just talking at each other. And I that's, one of the reasons I have the friends that I have here is because I have friends who are willing to listen and be active and engage with me that way. But there are still some times where I slip and I'll say something and I was like, do you actually mean that? And I notice people be like, they just get, because they're like, it's just a cultural thing where I just don't feel like people actually are listening. There are good listeners. I'm not trying to make a blanket statement that all people from the Midwest don't know how to listen. There's a lot of people who are fantastic listeners, but there is something about sort of this existentialist dilemma of living in the Midwest, of not causing waves about anything. And if I'm actively listening to someone and then responding to what they're saying, that is like such a wave creating experience, because it really is, hey, we're just trying to get out of this conversation as quickly as possible. People in the Midwest,
Right.
they talk about Midwest nice, and that's the reality. People in the Midwest do not want to talk to you because they are terrified. They are so judgmental. They want to just move on. They want to just be able to say, cool, I'm done with you, and get to the next thing they want to do. And people just talk at each other. So
that would drive me insane. I would not do well.
It is tough, Brad. It is tough. It is one of the reasons I would love to live back on the coast, because I feel like, as vapid as people say California is, or as druggy as Oregon is, or as up its own ass, the Washington is, I still feel like every time I'm there, the people were listening. It's a different sort of situation. So, good question, Brad. Good question.
It came from the internet.
Thank you. You got another one? Let's throw a couple at me.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
What is a historical figure that wasn't as amazing as most people think they were?
The first one that always comes to mind is Abraham Lincoln. I think Abraham Lincoln gets canonized as... Lincoln is an incredible debater. He's an amazing lawyer.
Great vampire hunter.
An incredible vampire hunter, one of the best. Great kill-death ratio. But I think a lot of people look at the way in which Lincoln was sort of like deified in the 1920s and 30s as like, oh, he was this, versus like a extremely contentious, problematic president who, and though I agree with everything Lincoln did, there are plenty of historical scholars who will look at this guy who's like, he is not everything we think he is. But what Lincoln was good at is putting the right people in his cabinet to do stuff for him, right? Like, he was really good about finding the right people. He was a great lawyer that way, and he knew how to delegate work, and he knew how to do this. But when you're really thinking about this as an American, like, it's not like Lincoln was like, I'm going to free the slaves, and that's what he campaigned on. It was like, yes, he did these things. He emancipated the slaves. He tried to have reconciliation between the South and the North. There's a lot of incredible things that Lincoln does, but I feel like he gets so much credit for things that the Senate, the Congress, his cabinet, other people were doing. And that's just that's every president, right? Like, there's so many presidents out there who get like credit for things that they in fact had nothing to do with, but they just happen to be the leader at the time. And it's easier to say, well, it was all one person,
Yeah.
Gandhi's another great example. Gandhi's like a person of like, we put so much, again, Mahatma Gandhi, incredible leader, incredible pacifist, incredible Hindi leader this way. Like, there are so many things that he did. Also, incredibly racist. Incredibly racist. Right? Like, that's the problem with the caste system, right? He's fighting the people who are at the top. He's punching up. But at the same time, he is punching down hard on every caste that is lower than him. And he's like, no. This is not about equality for all of us. This is equality for me and my caste, but you are untouchable people and you will always be this way. So,
solid choices.
Yeah. What about you?
I mean, this is a solid chance to shit on Columbus.
Oh,
but I mean, everyone knows that Columbus was terrible.
The worst. Just the absolute worst.
I would say Mother Teresa would be on that list as well. Did a lot of good, charitable things, but her reasoning was almost always entirely because she wanted to be near suffering because she thought it would make her more godly, which is a super creepy reason.
But it's so Catholic, man. So Catholic. Yeah.
Like set up entire hospices just so that she could gather suffering people near her. Super creepy. Man.
Yeah. I mean, what's so interesting about Mother Teresa is I feel like Mother Teresa is a great example of how the Catholic Church hired the wrong marketing person, right? Like Mother Teresa is not someone who is like self-promoting. She is, stoic and trying to do her own sort of thing, like so many, people who have been canonized have been. But there is something about the Catholic Church that like wants to like promote her as like this, like, oh, look at this great person. Like, and it's just like sick, right? It's so sick. It's so sick about the Catholics, about how they're like, she's not the one who's like self-promoting. It's the Pope. It's everything else. The same thing with John Paul. John Paul II is like very problematic in a lot of ways. I don't want to talk about.
Wait until you finish Midnight Mass.
I will.
And then we can talk about Catholics.
Then we'll finally have the like, hey, let's take those Catholics down to peg.
Yeah. What about you? You got a question for me, Kel?
I have a bunch of quizzes, Brad. That's the thing. We can do another quiz.
Too. Would you like to do a quiz?
Yeah, I'll do a quiz with you. Why not?
All right. Since it's spooky season and all, I have a spook-related quiz.
Spooky.
So spooky. Talking about your role in a horror film.
Perfect.
If you were stuck in a horror movie, what would you do? Break down and cry. Make and stand against the murder. Sure. Run away and not look back. Outsmart the murderer and escape. Just stay alive or hide and don't come out until the murderer leaves.
Just stay alive, Brad. That's the point.
Stay alive.
Just stay alive.
One of your acquaintances invited you to a party at their house. Would you go? Heck yeah, I was just waiting for them to ask. Probably not. Even if I went, no one would notice me. Yeah, sure, it'd be fun. I would go if there would be other people I knew. I mean, your friend is going to be there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, perfect place to meet some new people. No, I wasn't even invited in the first place. You clearly were.
You were.
Very confusing. Sure, why not? Or I wasn't even invited, but you can definitely bet I'll be there again. You definitely were invited. That's the point of the question.
I guess, Yeah, sure, it'd be fun. I wish there weren't exclamation points. That's my answer. Like when it's, I don't like, yeah, sure, that'd be fun. I'm like, that's not me.
Right.
Yeah.
What would be your first vocal response if someone started a killing spree at your party?
Okay.
Everybody run. Get out as fast as you can. No comment. Well, I'm out. Everybody stay calm. I got this. Just screaming. Head for the front door. Come at me, bro. What just happened? Don't worry. Everything's going to be okay.
Head for the front door. Try to get people out. Yeah.
For the front door. All right. Would you try to save anyone else as you try to escape the murderer? I mean, maybe if there were people around me. I'd try to save all of my friends.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably be too caught up in getting out to try to help anyone else. Nope, I'm out of here. I would try to save as many people as I could. Or nope, everybody for themselves.
I try to save as many people as I could.
It's very noble.
Thank you.
Do you like watching scary movies or going to haunted houses? No, they freak me out. Yeah, they're really fun. Again, lots of exclamation.
Lots of exclamation points.
No, they make me want to punch someone.
Oh, God.
That's a very strange response. Sure, they could be fun. Depends on who I'm with. With no punctuation at all.
None at all.
Exclamation points or nothing. Or not really.
Yeah, they're really fun.
All right. Would you consider fighting the killer?
Oh.
No, I'm so weak I'd end up dead. No, I'm like super uncoordinated. Heck yes, I'll give them all I got. I'd rather not, but if it's going to save my life, I definitely will. I mean, I'd try. Probably end up dead. Yeah, that would definitely be an option. Fighting the killer, Kellen.
I mean, I'd try, but I'd probably end up dead. I mean, like, let's be honest. Like, I'm just thinking about, like, you don't fight the killer and get out of it. Like,
sure, no. Yeah. Right. Where would you first think to hide from the murderer?
Ooh.
In your room? In a closet? In the shed out back?
Oh.
In a car in the garage, even if I didn't have the keys? Somewhere the killer won't expect me? I mean, that would be handy. That's not very specific. In the kitchen? Or down/upstairs?
No. It's going to be in the kitchen.
In the kitchen? All right. No. At least you got lots of sharp objects and stuff.
Exactly.
All right. What is your outlook on life?
Brad, can we pause real quick?
Absolutely.
This question and this image from Spider-Man 2.
Right.
What am I missing?
I don't know.
Okay.
No, I have no idea. But that's definitely a picture from Spider-Man 2.
Definitely a picture
very
from Spider-Man
specifically. 2. It says Spider-Man 2.
It says Spider-Man 2.
On it.
Yes.
It's not trying to hide that it's from Spider-Man 2. So what is your outlook on life? Life is all kinds of stressful.
Yeah.
Life is pretty brutal. Life is about success and individual achievement. Life is life. There's nothing more to it. Life is meant to be enjoyed. What do you think about Spider-Man 2?
I think it's definitely the lesson I got from Spider-Man 2 is life is meant to be enjoyed.
All right, fair enough. How many friends do you have?
Oh.
I have a good amount of friends. I'm happy with them. Again, exclamations all over the place. I don't really have any friends. I have a couple friends. Everybody's my friends. I have some friends, but not too many.
I have some friends, but not too many, I would say.
Okay. Do you hold grudges with just a generic blood splatter or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes. No, they only damage you as a person. I try not to, but I still do sometimes. Yes, when people wrong me, I don't usually trust them again. I try not to. You never know what people are going through.
I try not to. You never know what people are going through. I think that's probably the best one for me. Do
you give out pretty solid advice?
Ugh.
I'd like to think I do. Again, exclamation.
Yeah.
Probably not. No one really asks me for advice, so I don't really know. Yes, I believe I do. No, my advice is work crap. I think so, but maybe not all of it is solid. Heck yes, my advice is worth gold.
I'd like to think I do.
All right. I think you do. You give good advice.
No, yeah.
If the murderer killed your best friend right in front of you, what would be your reaction?
Jesus.
Screams, both from emotional pain and fright. Fight them. No one kills my friend. Run away as fast as you can. Immediately goes at the murderer. That was uncalled for. No, not them. Why did you pick them?
Immediately go at the murderer, I guess. I would. That's, murdering my best friend.
That's very uncalled for, Mr. Murderer. It's very so rude.
Sir, I cannot believe that you would do something so outrageous.
How would you want to die?
Oh boy.
By going in your sleep? Something painless, don't want to suffer. Something epic, like sacrificing yourself for someone else. An honorable death, like on the battlefield, Klingon style.
Klingon style.
Something quick, like being shot, or from old age.
I don't like any of these.
Live forever is not an option. So
I don't want to go in my sleep. That's terrifying. I don't want to die on the battlefield either. I don't want to sacrifice myself for somebody else. I'm going to say from old age. I hate that answer, but that's
old
the
age.
best
Okay.
one. Yeah.
What? How good are you at putting things together? I'm
Okay.
not sure what the picture has to do with that.
Okay. Again, Spider-Man, spider themed.
A lot of spider stuff, yeah. I'm kind of good at putting things together. LOL, I'm always so oblivious and I can't put anything together. I'd like to say I can put things together well. Not very good, to be honest. I don't know. I haven't really tried or had the opportunity to try to figure things out. I put things together super well. Like everything's pretty obvious.
I'd like to say I can put things together well. I'm not the best at escape rooms, but I can do some stuff there. Okay.
Right here, the survivor. Nice. You are the only one who kills the murderer and makes it out alive. You're a strong person who adapts well to each situation. You have a drive for life that helps you get through anything.
I mean, that photo, if you know the movie Us, that photo is not really the survivor. That's what's interesting about
right.
it. Like, it is like, I'm like, that's not.
Yeah, that's.
She's not
awkward.
the survivor in the movie, in fact.
No. Silly.
Very silly. Very, very silly.
So there we go. The survivor.
There we go. All right, Brad. I got one quiz for you.
Okay.
I know we're just doing a bunch of quizzes, but I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it. Can I turn ads off on here? No. No. I want to turn all the ads off, not make more ads on this page. Fuck.
Sheesh.
God, when ads get through ad blocker, what does that say? Brad, here's the joke. Here's the thing we're doing. What kind of bean are you?
Okay, sure. Let's find out.
Let's find out what sort of bean you are. Brad, do you like beans? Who doesn't like beans?
Beans are all right. I got
pretty
nothing
good.
against beans.
What's a bean? No one likes beans. Beans are all I eat. I like beans.
I guess beans are pretty good.
Beans are pretty good. Right? What's your favorite Starbucks drink? Black coffee. I don't get enough sleep. Tall latte is good for me. Tea. I don't drink coffee. I got a venti caramel frappuccino because sugar. A macchiato. White chocolate mocha.
I mean, if I'm doing Starbucks, I probably would go for something super sweet and nonsensical. So I would go with the venti caramel frappuccino thing.
Brett, how old are you?
So old, Kellen.
You're in this
I
range,
am between
right?
35 and 45.
There you go.
I'm getting dangerously close to 40.
I know, it's a little... Yeah. Brett, when you walk into a club...
That happens all the time.
Happens all the time. Are you down to clown like a kidney bean, dancing like a black bean, a literal lima bean, a jumping jelly bean, a chickpea, or not at the club?
I'm not at the club. That's... Yeah, no. That's...
Brad, which ML bean team do you support? The New York Kidneys, the St. Louis Chickpeas, the Cleveland Lima Beans, the Boston Black Beans. I don't have time to watch baseball because I'm playing Little League, or I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I mean, I know what they're talking about, but I don't really care about any of those baseball teams, kidney puns or otherwise.
Yeah.
I guess I'll say that I don't know what you're talking about.
Perfect. Brad, you're a good old pinto bean.
All right.
You're great alone or
good
made
to
into
know,
refried beans. Oh, so good. That quiz tickled me, Brad. I don't know what it was about. Like, what bean are you? I'm like, it's not as good as.
Sometimes they just. I mean, that's why I did the rat one originally. What the hell could this even mean? We need to do this quiz.
It's a BuzzFeed quiz. It's pretty simple. So.
Yeah.
So good.
Well, I don't know, Kellen. Before we call it quits, do you want to watch a silly video? Maybe.
I would love to watch a silly video, please.
All right. Make sure I share the sound, or it's not going to make a whole lot of sense. Since it's spooky season, thought maybe a classic Kids in the Hall sketch that you've probably seen.
Oh, I.
It's the second set of shoes coming on.
We're safe, but for how long?
Oh, so good.
Just classic.
Oh boy.
Gotta love Kids in the Hall.
Gotta love them. I've met everybody but Dave Foley in the Kids of the Hall. Kevin used to come to Chicago a lot and would host writing workshops, and I've done some shows with him. He's great. I've met Scott a few times when he's done his Buddy Cole tour. He used to come to a theater that I used to work at all the time. They're all brilliant, funny, great. Like they're the sort of people where it's like I always want to be like, hey, don't meet your heroes. They're the people who I've met, and I'm like, no, they're as good as they are because they're Canadian.
Nice. That's rare.
It's very rare.
Meeting your heroes is a dangerous thing.
It's very dangerous. It's extremely, extremely dangerous. I was very intimidated to meet Scott, and I was like, oh, you're even better than you are on TV. This is wonderful. So
it's always nice.
Yeah. Brad, as always, this has been a real pleasure. I the time flies. I'm very, very pleased with being able to. In fact, I'm actually going to find something. We're going to find another Kids in the Hall sketch.
Okay. Stand by for more Kids in the Hall.
Because I thought you were going to play a different sketch in terms of spooky season. So I'm kind of like, oh, you didn't play this one? This is what when I think about spooky season, this is what I think about. Oh no, come back here. Share screen. That screen. Audio.
Oh sure, yeah. This one too. So good.
So good.
Good evening, and welcome to the pit of ultimate darkness. Hello, I'm your host, Sir Simon Milligan. For those of you without a brave heart, get up, go to your television sets, and turn the station. Go ahead, exercise your right to be a coward. Now, for those of you with a brave heart, and for those of you who have stayed, look into my face. And no, to look into my face is to look into the face of evil.
So evil.
Yes, I'm a man possessed by many demons. Polite demons that would open a door for a lady carrying too many parcels, but demons nonetheless. Yes, I've walked along the path of evil many times. It's a twisting, curving path that actually leads to a charming block garden. But beyond that, evil! And now I would like to bring on one who could be the spawn of Satan himself, manservant Hecubus. Good evening, Hecubus. Are you ready?
I am ready to serve you, Master. And Satan.
Good. Then let the proof of evil begin. Hecubus, pick a card. Pick any card.
No.
Pardon?
No.
Evil! 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 Hecubus, have you seen the movie Presumed Innocent?
Yes, I have, Master. And his wife killed her.
But Hecubus, I haven't seen the movie yet.
So evil.
It is now time for the sleep of ages. Savalabakoti. Hecubus, can you hear me?
Yes, Master.
If Hecubus is sleeping, how can he hear me? Maybe because he's lying? Dirty, dirty liar! Evil, evil, white boy! He lied! Remember, people, do not fear the evil that surrounds you. Do not avoid the hounds of hell. Do not avoid the beasts of brimstone. Do not avoid the puppies of purgatory. You must always embrace the hellfire! 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 Thank you. Good night. If you haven't already, please call your mom.
So good.
Terrific! Great stuff! At last! A show for me! A show that speaks to me! That was great! Oh, Golden Girls.
Oh, it's so good, Brad. There it is.
This has
One of my
been
favorites.
fun. This has been a good one.
It's so good. So good.
We'll be back next week. Probably more vaguely spooky related things.
Maybe. Well, I've got a whole playlist of commercials that I'm going to show you all that I grew up with
Excellent.
back in Colorado.
I found a
Oregon,
couple
and
of
even here.
I found a couple of just bizarre old Canadian PSAs and stuff.
Yeah. So good. Brad, thank you for talking with me tonight, and for everyone else, thank you so much for joining us. And yeah.
Good times. See you guys next week.